Alright guys, welcome back. Hope you're doing well, keeping safe, and hopefully you all had a good weekend. Only a couple of days now before we get another article from Massive on a new feature or revamp they've been working on for the new update in February of next year. The first one we got was the specialization revamp, which to me at least sounds pretty good on paper, just so long as the devs balance everything correctly. It's probably not going to happen, but balance it as best as they can and really go deep into the customization. This next one we have kind of no idea what it's going to be about, but I think I know what it will be, and I hope I'm right. That's a mod revamp. It has to be done surely. Let's take a look at some of your comments to my poll on this and talk about what the issues are and what can be done to revamp the mods. Drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. Let's get into this. If any of you guys have been watching me for a period of time, then you know I've been banging this drum for a very long time. But now that we know the devs are making a real effort to kind of overhaul systems that are currently not functioning properly or are underperforming, like the specialization system, then it's fair to assume they've probably looked at mods. Well, I hope so anyway. Especially as I think the community has mods near the top of their list of systems needing some love, if not at the top of the list for most people. So what's the problem with them, and how do Massive go about making them more impactful in the game? Here's the main list of problems. Number one, they are not impactful for the most part, and I'm mainly talking about skill mods here, as I think gear mods can be impactful depending on the ones, which ones they are, although there are some that are not great. Weapon mods as well, I think they're okay, although I do think some work could be done with those as well. A good example of a gear mod that is actually useful, especially when combined with the right build, is the protection from elite mods. Having a build centered around mitigating elite damage and then throwing on a set of protection from elite mods make you almost invincible to elite damage. Check out Markerblade's protection from elite build videos. He was certainly the first creator I saw that made some insane protection from elite builds, all requiring these mods. A good example of a gear mod that I think is really lacking is armor on kill. I'm sure in some very niche situations someone has found a use for them, but I think overall they're vastly underpowered. That could be because of the way armor works in this game, I don't know, but I just think overall the armor on kill ones are rarely ever useful. Skill mods are useless. 5% damage for the turret makes barely any difference. Skill haste mods, they do very little. On my tier 6 skill build, my turret has a cooldown of 10.6 seconds. Now if I put on an almost max skill haste mod, it goes down by less than a second. Let's take decoy as another example, and the 7.5% max health mod. Now as you can see on screen, adding this mod to my tier 6 decoy skill gives it an extra 83k health, which, you know, that sounds like a big number, but if we put it in context, seeing as red bar NPCs can do 1 million damage just by looking at you, this mod is absolutely useless. You know, these are just two examples. I could show you a lot more, but you know, you guys play this game, you know that mods in this game are just pretty redundant. Skill mods are pretty redundant for the most part. In almost every build that I can think of, you could remove the skill mods and you wouldn't notice any real difference to your build's performance. So what is the point in them? If I'm having to ask this question, a question that's been raised 1 million times by the community, then surely they are underperforming and Massive have to do something to make them impactful. What I will say before I move on to for point 2, and this is completely off script here guys, is that skill builds generally without mods are really strong in this game. The concern is that obviously if you make skill mods too good, then skills will dominate even more than they already do, especially in PvE content and I believe even in PvP, although I don't play PvP, so you guys would have to let me know if skills are running that. I believe it is. So if we are going to see skill mods get buffed dramatically, then unfortunately I think skills overall will have to be nerfed. Otherwise skills are just going to be so dominant that no one is really going to look at any other type of build. Moving on, number 2, inventory management is brutal without a mod library. I know it doesn't take long to do, like to get rid of mods and all that sort of stuff, but I hate having to spend my time managing mods, especially in their current state. All that could change if they make some really good changes to mods where I want to spend my time managing them. But right now, you know, they need changing. They need to be impactful, and then also throwing a mod library, and I think I'd be pretty good with them. Number 3, mod space. Right now, 100 slots for mods is nowhere near enough. There are 10 different defensive mod slots alone, and when you consider that you're able to equip free gear mods at one time, defensive mods can take up to 30 spaces if you have 3 of each defensive mod on you. And that's just one of the available mod types. You then have offensive, utility, and then you've got 11 different skills. There is just not enough room to hold all the mods you might want. And quite often, I find myself deleting mods I rarely use for mods that I use more often. That's not a choice that I want to make, as I'd rather store all the different mod types I can get. And that way, if I decide I want to make a build that's a bit out there, a bit niche, that would benefit from those more obscure mods, I can do that. But right now, I don't have any of those obscure mods because they've been deleted for mods that I know I'm going to use more often. So if they can increase the space or bring in another system where we can store them, or just something where if I want to have, you know, every single mod in the game, a max roll of every single mod in the game, or even not a max roll, but just a mod, every single mod in the game and multiples of them, especially with like gear mods, for example, where you're going to need 3 of each one, that there's enough room for me to be able to do that. So with what I've just said in mind, what's the solution? Well, I don't think there's just one answer here. At the very least, Massive need to rework mods so they have a bigger impact. If Massive are not going to change how mods currently work, then skill mods in particular, they need a huge buff. But as I said before, if they do that, it's quite possible they are going to have to nerf skills overall in order to make sure that skills don't just run away. Because at the moment, I think they are kind of the pinnacle kind of thing in the game, right? Skill builds are pinnacle in this game. They are meta. And so if you were to add an extra 10 or 20% to each of those skill builds, but not add a similar amount to you know, other types of builds, then they are going to be the only build that people are going to want to run. I think if Massive do really pay attention to mods, and I believe they will, I'd be very surprised if they didn't, I think a completely different system might be introduced with the content update. What that might look like, do you know what, guys? I don't know, to be honest. I had a look at your guys' comments to the poll that I put out. Most of you guys were just saying, look, they need to do something with mods because they're underpowered, and I totally agree. But no one really had a solution as to how they would go about fixing them so that they are impactful, but they also don't break the game. There's no solution that I found really without nerfing skills overall if you're going to buff the skill mods. So I don't really know what the solution is, guys. I mean, I'm not a developer. I've had a little bit of a think about it. To be honest, guys, it kind of hurts my brain a little bit. But if they are going to make a new system, I hope it's a good one. We've only got 3 days before the next Intelligence Annex, so let's see if mods are next up on the chopping board. As I said, I think they will be, but if they're not, then I would be very surprised if they're not up at some point. I don't think they're going to just miss mods out. I think mods are so important in this game, especially skill mods. You know, I think they could do stuff with gear mods possibly, and they could also do stuff with weapon mods, but skill mods for me personally are the thing that really need to be looked at. And I'd be very surprised if the devs just don't consider changing how mods work in this game overall. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you're still here, I really appreciate all of the support. It means a lot to me and this channel. Until the next one, though, guys, epic out.